Shannon Spruill, also known as Shannon Ward and better known as Daffney or the Queen of Scream, was a professional wrestler, manager, and actor. Most commonly known as Valet, an on-screen mentally deranged girlfriend for David Flair, and would later manage both Crowbar and Flair in World Championship Wrestling from 1999 until its sale in 2001. During her run with the company, she would become the second woman ever to hold the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Not falling into the cookie-cutter Barbie doll typical diva look and style, her character stood out, and decades later still one of the most memorable characters of the late 1990s and early 2000s. In 2003, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which she made public. From 2001 until 2013, she would bounce around the independent circuit, making appearances in Dusty Rhodes Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling Camp, Extreme Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, Ohio Valley Wrestling, and Anarchy Championship Wrestling. She also made a handful of appearances in TNA. She became vocal about concussions in the professional wrestling industry. In the 2017 book, Sisterhood of the Squared Circle, The History and Rise of Women's Wrestling, she was quoted as saying concussions had ended her professional wrestling career and advised other wrestlers to rest after taking a blow to the head. In September of 2021, she took her own life after appearing on a live Instagram video and reading a suicide note. Many unanswered questions still surround her death, as intensified concerns within the business over mental health rose, especially with women performers. This is the story of Shannon Spruill, aka Daffney.
Living on the highway, taking every turn. I've been on the road since I was 5.
Shannon's parents met in England, where her father, who was in the military, was stationed. They married and moved to the Air Force Base in Germany. Her older brother was born on June 15, 1973, and Shannon was born on July 17, 1975, while living at the Air Force Base in Germany. In 1976, her family returned to the United States and initially settled in Salt Lake City. After 18 months there, they picked up and moved to Savannah, Georgia. From there, they moved to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. She spent kindergarten and first grade at Central Elementary, then off to her mother's homeland in England, where they were stationed at Croughton Air Force Base near Oxford, and lived there for about 3 years. In 1985, she appeared in Santa Claus the Movie as a bratty kid in ballet class, which sparked her interest in acting. She was also an extra in the movie Insignificance. Throughout her childhood, she got to visit much of Europe and see where she was born. The family had only one TV station, but would watch Junkyard Dog, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and George Animal Steel on Saturday mornings. Her and her brother would watch and then practice slamming each other on the couch. Her father's last tour of duty was in Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, where they lived during her 5th and 6th grade years. But then, in 1987, after 21 years in the Air Force, her father retired. He got a job and the family put their roots down in Atlanta.
Sitting by my father for a million miles.
Unfamiliar with civilian life, it took her a little getting used to not living on a base. She began 7th grade with no friends and was about 2 years behind in the latest fashion trends. She played soccer at Norcross Soccer Association and started making new friends. At this point, she also started to play the cello in the middle school orchestra. She began to love playing the cello and was extremely proud of her ability and continued to play through high school. She also played junior varsity soccer at her freshman year and then moved up to varsity. At this point, soccer was a very serious career option, but it wasn't in the cards. She graduated from Norcross High School in 1993. After high school, she went to community college, taking a full load which included some music courses. She stayed living at home, working at a local indie music store called Music Drome. In 1997, she performed with rock band Shock Lobo in the Georgia Music Festival Songwriter Showcase, winning an award in the rock category. After 2 years, she transferred to Georgia State and did well enough in her studies to keep a full academic scholarship. She graduated from Georgia State University on March of 1998 with a Bachelor of Arts degree, majoring in film and video production and music and acting. Upon graduation, her GPA was 3.3. A few months before she graduated, she went to work part-time as a production coordinator at a video production company. After she graduated, she switched to full-time Monday through Friday from 8:45 to 5 p.m. It was a great experience, but she decided that she wanted to seriously pursue acting, as her previous work on Santa Claus and Insignificance had stuck with her. She went to work freelance as a teleprompter operator to free up some time during the week for auditions. She also worked as a crew member on a few independent films. In a year, she hadn't landed anything solid, just a few indie films and a couple voiceovers.
Picking up old stories on the ride.
She got a call to audition for World Championship Wrestling. She flew to Minneapolis in November of 1999 to audition for a crazy stalker chick who was going to torment David Flair. When she got there, she was asked if she was available to play a 4-week reoccurring character. She did her first pre-tape about hosting the Nitro Party and then flew home the next day. 4 weeks turned into a contract that lasted until January 2nd, 2001. On May 8th, 2000, Daffney was appointed by Vince Russo to wrestle Miss Elizabeth in her first wrestling match. On May 15th, Daffney and Crowbar defeated WCW World Cruiserweight Champion Chris Candido and his girlfriend Tammy Lynn Sitch in a mixed tag team match where Candido's Cruiserweight title was on the line. Daffney scored the pin on Tammy to make her and Crowbar the co-champions. The following week on the May 22nd episode of Nitro, Crowbar and Daffney faced one another to determine the undisputed World Cruiserweight Champion. After Candido entered the ring and hit Crowbar with a reverse piledriver, Daffney inadvertently pinned him while trying to revive him and becoming the second woman ever to hold the Cruiserweight Championship. Her reign lasted until June 7th when Lieutenant Loco pinned Disco Inferno in a 3-way title defense while Daffney was hurt following interference from Miss Hancock. Daffney's voice was an accident as she had just gotten her tonsils removed, and that's actually how her voice sounded at the time. In her first weeks with WCW, she expressed an interest in learning her newfound trade. The sports entertainment bug bit her with the mix of athleticism and performing got her. She went down to the power plant a few days a week to get schooled and to practice screaming. Crowbar and a few of the boys in the back also worked with her in the ring on TV days. One of Daffney's trademarks was a piercing scream when she was lurking at ringside. The gimmick was based on Mallory Knox, the character from the movie Natural Born Killers. She also had started to work out at Main Event Fitness, Lex Luger's gym in Marietta. Daffney's gimmicks included frequently changing hair color, t-shirts printed with bizarre slogans, and her loud screams. The latter, which was a suggestion of WCW head writer Ed Ferreira. She was released by WCW on February 2nd, 2001 due to budget cutbacks. WCW was purchased by its rival, the World Wrestling Federation, a month later.
I've been counting shadows to the beat of the radio I feel.
After she left WCW, she decided to continue her career and spent the next 8 months attending Dusty Rhodes Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling Camp in Georgia. She also worked for Extreme Pro Wrestling in 2003 as Lucy, the manager of Vic Grimes. She would also make appearances in Ring of Honor, where she debuted on April 26, 2003 as Lucy, the second valet of the Second City Saints. In July of 2003, she was signed to a developmental deal by World Wrestling Entertainment. She worked in Ohio Valley Wrestling as a manager of Aaron Stevens until she was released on December 17th of that same year. She decided to retire from professional wrestling. Intending to focus on her acting career, she sold her wrestling boots to then roommate Mickie James. While she was retired, she worked as a personal trainer. She stayed out of the business for a year and a half, taking some time off before doing a photo shoot for a pay site created by Missy Hyatt and Francine. She went to work on the indie circuit from 2006. She debuted in Women's Extreme Wrestling on April 6 under the ring name Lucy Fur, acting as a lumberjill in a match between Amy Lee and Ty Killer Weed. On June 2nd, in Irondale, Alabama, she faced El Mexico for the NWA Wrestle Birmingham Junior Heavyweight Championship. with the help of her manager Robert Fuller, who referred to Shannon as his $1 million baby. She defeated El Mexico to win her third wrestling title. In February 2007, she began making appearances with Georgia Wrestling Promotions both as manager and a referee. In April 2007, she debuted as Daffney for Shimmer Women's Athletes. She conducted an interview where she revealed her goal was to return to what she did from the beginning of her career, and that was to manage. Later that evening, she appeared as a manager of the wrestler Miss Chiff. In April 2008, she began wrestling as her Shark Girl character. However, she returned to wrestling as Daffney only after a couple of months. On the June 5, 2008 episode of TNA Impact, she appeared as a planted fan in the audience along with Amber O'Neil and Becky Bayless. The three women volunteered to wrestle Awesome Kong in a $25,000 challenge. Daffney was selected and subsequently defeated by Kong. Towards the end of 2008, she got a call from TNA to appear as the Alaskan governor and vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin in an angle between the Beautiful People and Roxy Laveau and Taylor Wilde. She portrayed the Alaska governor Sarah Palin in skits involving the Beautiful People on the January 15, 2009 episode of Impact. It was revealed by Taylor Wilde and Roxy that Sarah Palin was indeed fake. At Bound for Glory 2009, she suffered a concussion after being chokeslammed through a board wrapped in barbed wire by Abyss. 6 months later, she suffered another concussion where she was injured by Miss Betsy, an inexperienced 300-pounder in her TNA tryout match.
Like a baby when I sleep, and then you come to me.
In early 2009, she took part in the first season taping of Wrestlelicious, which started airing in March 2010, using the character of Draculetta. She debuted on March 17th in the main event of the third episode of Takedown, teaming with White Magic in a tag team match, where they lost via disqualification to the team of Lacey Von Erich and Amber Lively. On June 27, 2010, Daffney won her only women's championship, defeating Rachel Summerlin in the first round of the Anarchy Championship Wrestling's 2010 American Queen of Queens tournament.
If we can keep the fire burning till I'm coming home.
The injuries would mean the end of Daffney's in-ring career. "My career was ended early due to concussions," she said. "My last match was in December 2010. I had major grade 2 concussions within a 6-month span. The first one was a brain bleed. I have made arrangements to donate my brain to science. Chris Nowinski's Sport Legacy Institute has first dibs after I expire. Anytime I hear some girl hit her head, I can say, cancel your next freaking booking. You rest. No working out. Just light walking and stretching, but no physical exertion where the blood is going to rush to your brain. Because it's dangerous, I definitely did things in my career that I wish I would have had the balls to say no to," she said. "I went through barbed wire, thumbtacks, and tables. You can say that takes balls, but it takes more balls to say no. Your health is too important." She stopped wrestling in 2010 due to her injuries. Witnessing Bret Hart's career ending before her eyes when he was kicked by Goldberg, she realized her career could end in a similar way. March 15, 2011, her contract with the promotion expired and was not renewed. Shannon announced that she had filed a workers' compensation claim against TNA for injuries suffered while wrestling for the promotion, believing she had been put in an unsafe work environment. Shannon also later claimed that she did not believe she could ever wrestle again due to the accumulated injuries she had suffered during her career. TNA's head of talent relations, Terry Taylor, reneged on a promise to cover Daffney's hospital fees that stemmed from a laundry list of injuries: 3 concussions, a broken arm, a deeply bruised sternum and stinger caused by reckless in-ring stunts, and then fired her when she took the legal remedies at her disposal to force their hand.
Don't want another storm to ride.
On July 19, 2011, Shannon was arrested in Hillsborough County, Florida for driving under the influence with property damage. She pled guilty to the charges, for which she was sentenced to 1 year of probation and fined $1,580. In 2012, she was involved in a serious car accident in Florida. She credited wearing a seatbelt for having saved her life. On March 8, 2013, the lawsuit against TNA was settled out of court. Daffney had this to say about her welcome legal victory on Twitter. "I'd like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank all the love and support over the past 2 years. I appreciate so much that you recognize the huge injustice that is being done to professional wrestlers throughout the industry. I hope my case has opened up a few eyes, and maybe now we, the wrestlers who put our bodies on the line every time we step into the ring, are one step closer to being provided with medical coverage and all the benefits that go along with being a true employee and not an independent contractor." Despite retiring in 2011, in July 2012 she began working as a hostess of the new Shine Wrestling promotion. She held the position until May 2013, when she returned to the role of a manager. Also in 2013, Daffney returned to Shimmer Woman Athletes at the promotion's first ever internet pay-per-view, Volume 53, where she appeared as a manager of Regeneration X. She also appeared in 2018 in Ring of Honor after a Woman of Honor World Championship tournament final between Sumi Sakai and Kelly Klein, congratulating Sakai on her victory. In 2018, Daffney made what would be her only non-archival WWE appearance when she was in the crowd and acknowledged by Mick Foley during his WWE Network stand-up special 20 Years in Hell held at Mr. Spall's Theater in Pennsylvania, which was taped on the 20th anniversary of the infamous Hell in a Cell match that took place in Pittsburgh at the Civic Arena. Shannon had surgery in January 2017 to fuse her C5 and C6 vertebrae to fix an extrusion that was pressing upon her spinal column. She subsequently wrote that neck surgery was a rite of passage for professional wrestlers. Later, Shannon became vocal about concussions in the professional wrestling industry. In the 2017 book, Sisterhood of the Squared Circle, The History and Rise of Women's Wrestling, Shannon was quoted as saying concussions had ended her professional wrestling career and advised other wrestlers to rest after taking a blow to the head. She says the effects the concussions had on her day-to-day life were obvious, such as having to cover the windows with blankets because bright lights gave her headaches. In a live stream video posted the day she died, she said, "I want the future generations to know, don't do stupid shit like me." On September 1st, 2021, Shannon streamed a live video through Instagram in which she read a suicide note, holding what appeared to be a pistol and requesting that her brain be donated for CTE testing. Fans took to social media to support Shannon, and law enforcement were dispatched to previous known addresses until her family were able to provide an updated address. Her death was announced online the following day by Shimmer wrestler Lexi Fife at Shannon's family's request. An official for the Gwinnett County, Georgia Medical Examiner's Office also confirmed her death but did not disclose the cause. A report from the police department indicated that she had died of an apparent gunshot wound to the chest. Her autopsy results were released in March 2022 and revealed that her death had been ruled a suicide, and it was also reported that her brain had been taken to the Boston University CTE Center and Brain Bank for analysis. USA Today wrote that her death intensified concerns within the business, especially among women performers, noting that wrestlers Ashley Mazzaro and Hana Kimura had also died by suicide in the preceding 2 years. Industry veterans Mick Foley and Kane included the phone number for the suicide hotline in their tweets, while Paige used the hashtag Mental Health Matters, and CM Punk encouraged people to ask for help. Mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Take care of each other. Mike Johnson of Pro Wrestling Insider encouraged industry leaders to make permanent changes regarding mental health care, comparing it to WWE instituting its wellness policy after the 2005 death of Eddie Guerrero. While WWE does not provide psychological and psychiatric services for contracted performers, cheerleader Melissa pushed for other promotions to provide services for their wrestlers. A video published on September 10th revealed Shannon was cremated and a mass was held in her memory. Awesome Kong subsequently dedicated her induction into the Impact Hall of Fame to Shannon on September 18th. The following month, Impact dedicated the Monsters Ball match at Knockouts Knockdown to Shannon. That was a story of Shannon Spruill, aka Daffney.